So I am really trying to learn these lessons that are written out on the pages of scripture and apply them to my life now, because surely that's acceptable. So
Yes.
that's my honest answer of where I'm drawing my hope right now is like, well, I'm looking at the patterns of what we know to be true about God in scripture. And I have to trust that your word is true and your word will do what it says it will. And that's where my hope comes from. Dare I say I have made peace with maybe the rest of my life won't look like what I wanted it to look like on paper. That'd be a bummer, but it's not the end of the story. And that's what I'm okay with, because I know the end of the story is a lot better than this, so I can cling on.
Hey there, folks. Welcome to another episode of the Faith Roundtable. I am your host, Pastor Josh Burtram. Of course, I'm also the faithful host of the Faithful Politics podcast, which happens right here on this same channel. And we're trying to create a space where people can have honest conversations about tough things and politics, religion, and kind of everything in between. And so if you're in that space, you've come to the right place. Well, hey there, folks. Welcome to another episode of the Faith Roundtable. I am your host, Pastor Josh Burtram. Of course, I'm also the faithful host of the Faithful Politics podcast, which happens right here on this same channel. And we're trying to create a space where people can have honest conversations about tough things and politics, religion, and kind of everything in between. And so if you're in that space, you've come to the right place here. And I'm actually really excited about today's episode of the Faith Roundtable, where we talk to leaders and influencers and scholars, people that are making a difference in Christianity, thinking through what is going on with Christianity in America today. It's a broad story. And today it's interesting because I get to connect with an old friend, Megan Daubert. She is an old friend from back when Virginia, Northern Virginia. I still am in Virginia, but back when we used to go to Manassas Assembly of God, that's what it was called when I still was there. But today we're going to talk to Megan about her new podcast, the Megan Daubert podcast, and the story that ignited and catalyzed this podcast and thrust her into an entirely new reality. And I think you guys are going to enjoy it. So Megan, thank you so much for jumping on the show, spending some time hanging with me today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the invitation, Josh. It's really fun to see you, like you said, to reconnect after many, many years.
Yeah, I'm not even sure how long it's been.
I know.
A long time. Probably 18 is the last time I probably had a conversation with you. And so I'm 40 now. So what is that? That's 21 years. So officially, the time it's been they can drink now officially. And so it's good though, whatever you call that gap, there it is. Well, Megan, man, it's really good to see you. And also it's really, really sad, really hard, because part of why we're having this conversation is a major event that happened in your life that you felt, and it's changed you, and it's propelled you to do something and things you probably never thought you would, including starting the podcast, the Megan Daubert podcast. Can you kind of just give us a sense of what happened, what inspired you to come to this place of doing a podcast, telling your story?
Yeah. So I am, like you, still living in Virginia, except we are southeastern Virginia. We live in Virginia Beach. My husband and I got married 19 years ago, and we dated in high school. So Josh, you probably remember seeing Michael around our youth group.
I do.
It's just long time, I have been with him longer than I was ever apart from him. So he and I are, we're tied together for life,
Soulmates.
Right? Soulmates. So we were going about our life. We have 3 kids. We have done a lot of things career-wise, taken us all over the United States, blah, 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 land us into Virginia Beach, where we've put down roots and we're doing life. And we've just had a lot of ups and downs, but in 2023, we finally felt like we were coming back up for air. Career was in a good place. Our kids were getting a little older. We were finding our groove. 10 years in one spot makes you feel more established. And we'd bounced around a lot prior to that. 2023 was looking up. January of 2024, Mike had started, he was in residential real estate, but was moving into kind of his dream job of commercial development and commercial real estate. So he had taken on a new role in January of 2024. That first month, I just felt like the Lord was answering a lot of prayers that we had been praying for a really long time. Then February rolls around. February 5th, 2024, Mike played in an adult soccer league regularly. It was just his outlet for having fun on Monday nights. And this particular Monday night, February 5th, the game was 9 p.m. And, he parted ways, said goodbye, gave the kids a hug. I said, good luck, see you later. He left and I got the kids put to bed. And about 9:15, I get a pounding on my front door. It's dark. I'm alarmed. There should not be anybody banging on my front door. So I try to creep around the house, look out the window, see if anyone's there. No one's there. Pound again. And now I'm like, okay, you're going to wake up my kids I just put to bed. And I open the front door and it is my neighbor across the street who is breathlessly saying, Megan, something has happened to Michael. They're performing CPR on him at the field house. You've got to go. And I describe the moment of panic and terror that wells up in my body, reaches the top of my head, and goes and sits in the pit of my stomach. I describe that every time I tell this story because I think that's very significant as my story plays out now. Like this pit in my stomach of the moment realization of something in life just shifted. So I go into full on fight or flight mode, get dressed, find my car keys, all the while thinking, why am I driving to the field house? Why, if this is happening, why is he not in an ambulance? I get phone calls from somebody performing CPR informing me that he is not responsive. That's not clicking with me at this time. That not responsive means, there's no pulse, sister. So I make it down to the field house. And what has happened, this is 20 some minutes. This is all going on. Michael had a sudden cardiac arrest while playing soccer. So out of the blue, his heart stops and he falls on the sidelines and they start performing CPR. It's not working. Finally, paramedics arrive with stronger defibrillator. There are defibrillator devices kind of all around every building. Schools have them, airports have them, shopping malls have them. I now see them everywhere I go. I see these little devices on the wall. They're AED devices, and I can spot them from a mile away now because essentially that's what saved my husband's life. So he was shocked by the paramedics and his pulse came back. I was not there. I was not present for that scene. A lot of other people were, his teammates. The one who was sitting next to him, the one person on the sidelines, was a former firefighter paramedic. So he just happened to be the one sitting next to him in this loud, chaotic building where he would not have been seen because there's like a half-height wall that if he had fallen down, no one would have noticed him for a long time, until someone else came out. So anyway, that's miracle number one, right? Who is next to him. So he gets taken to the hospital. I meet up with them. I ride in the ambulance, thinking thoughts such as, am I about to be a widow? Is this how it ends? There's a lot of detail that I go into on my personal podcast. And if you are into stories like this, I share very candidly, very openly of all the small details of things. And I would encourage you to go listen because it's kind of wild. But I will fast forward here. Michael has a very small chance of survival at this point. 24 minutes without oxygen is outrageous. I don't know that at this point because I'm not in the medical field and I'm in shock. He was in a coma essentially for 9 days. He was on a ventilator, not doing well. They couldn't get his fever under control. He's transported to a second hospital after the first 24 hours. It's a nightmare. And it becomes obvious that there's probably neurological damage, brain damage. He's not responding to the nurses, poking and prodding. He's not responding to lights. He's not responding to sound. His eyes are not even open. So we're like, okay, we gotta figure out what's going on brain wise. So once he was able to get a brain MRI, their damage did show up in the brain. And, so cardiologists are coming in, electrophysiologists are coming in, and neurology starts to visit us. And basically they're telling us throughout the course of the first 10 days, like, we can't tell you how this is going to work out. We often see these cases not work out and some really difficult decisions are ahead of you, or we see some recovery, but only time will tell, which is not helpful to hear as family members and loved ones in that scenario. The next month of February of 2024, we are in our local hospital system here in the 757. He begins to regain consciousness and is working with therapists in the hospital bed, but he's not walking, he's not eating. He's hardly talking. He shows no memory of me and our kids whatsoever. He does not recognize anybody. He starts to recognize.
Can't even imagine that.
No, it's awful. It's awful. And I have a lot of like footage and videos that I have shared on my social media platforms, because if you're following along with our story, it's so insightful to see where he was, what we were experiencing, and gauge it to how far we've come, as of today. So I do share a lot of this stuff, and I did wait a year to have his consent to share. Side note. So Michael is a cardiac arrest patient. He gets a defibrillator device implant put in his body for the rest of his life now. He is a brain injury patient, an anoxic brain injury, and it is obvious his memory is messed up, his processing speed, his auditory skills. We don't know what he's capable of anymore. He has to go to a rehab facility. We get permission to go to the Shepherd Center in Atlanta, Georgia, which is known to be one of the best for spinal cord and brain injury patients, which in and of itself is a huge deal to have your insurance line up, to have a bed space in that facility open up, to then coordinate what life will look like if I leave my home, my kids, our life for at least 2 months was the recommendation. And so this is March and April that I'm thinking of like, oh my gosh, I just have to leave.
School, bills,
all of that going on. I mean,
kids.
that's a side podcast in and of itself, like work and bills and the financial. That was one of my very first fears was, how does our family survive financially now? Mike was in residential sales, had 1 month at this new job. Residential sales, if you don't know, you only get paid when you buy or sell a home for somebody. There's no income base. So I'm thinking like, well, great. My husband, who was our sole income provider for our family at this time, he's not working. Now what happens? We spent 3 months in a hospital system away from our kids. I watched my husband, who eventually reclaimed me as his wife in his mind, which was something to celebrate. It did get a little bit better, but I watched him be an entirely different human being in terrible scenarios, in like the depths of despair. For the only thing I did was sleep in my own bed that whole 3 months. And every waking moment I was with him, watching all the therapies happen and just like thinking at any moment he's going to come back, and I want to be there to explain what happened and let him know, he's okay. We're okay. Yeah. I thought that could happen. It didn't. It never did. But he has been on a healing journey, and we're now 2 years and a few months from that initial accident. So, there's a whole lot that we've been through between February 2024 and today.
I mean, Megan, I'm just like speechless, really. So sorry. I know you've heard that a billion times, but I'll say it again. There's one story in my life that it really connects with. Do you mind if I share that?
Please.
So when my wife and I, it was the year that we decided that we were going to go and start a church. This was 2018. And my son gets the flu and he gets strep. And he has all these, like he's super sick. And then his head starts hurting and he's complaining about his head hurting. We take him into the hospital. They say, he's probably okay. And as we're leaving, he screams that his head is hurting. And then like, well, you just left, so you'd have to readmit. It'd be another $200, like all this stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh. And so I didn't make much money at the time at all. And I was like, okay, we'll just go home. Turns out like the next day, he can't talk. He's slurring his speech. And like, he is like not doing well. And I'm like, we got to get him back in, like, and get admitted. Like, this is crazy. And he had something called ADEM, which was acute demyelinating encephalomyelitis or myelitis, something like that. But essentially his immune system was attacking his brain cells. And so he couldn't talk. He had to get therapy to learn to walk, and all this stuff happened. And it's crazy just seeing what happens with the brain. And then you're sitting there and you have no idea how things are going to turn out. And just like looking at this whole situation. Now he was younger, and so the ADEM wasn't as he was able to recover. And of course we're thankful for that. Yet to be in that situation and then to think about all the feelings, because as you're talking, I'm just thinking about the feelings that were in my heart and in my head and all this stuff as I'm sitting there. And even like, it's not even close to, I think, what you were feeling. Yet I'm still sitting there with my son there. And I'm like, I have no idea what's going to happen here. That sense of like, there are a few times in life when you have this massive, what should I call it? It's this massive realization. I don't want to call it an epiphany. Maybe it is an epiphany, but epiphany puts it in a positive light when it's not necessarily positive in terms of the feelings. The feelings can be quite negative. The sense that you don't have control, the complete illusion that you can control what happens in your life. You know, I've often thought about this. I've often thought about, you know, there are people that went through the Holocaust and literally lost every single person in their family except for themselves. And they had to somehow rebuild their life out of the ashes of what it was. In your experience, how did you work through the sense that, wow, I don't have control and I'm supposed to trust God? But if God lets this kind of thing happen, what else will God let happen? My wife and I lost a daughter in between our first and second children. And that was another moment where I realized I want to pray for God's will, but I'll be honest, I'm pretty afraid of God's will. I'm afraid of what that might include. A youth group that we went to growing up, we didn't hear that kind of message. Really. I don't remember. Whatever. I don't think we heard that much in church.
I do. It has been the most trying lesson. I'm very particular about what worship songs I sing. Like, I have a filter that I vet them through now. I'm not volunteering to be refined by the fire because that hurts. Now that I've been in the fire, I'm like, nobody's signing up for this job here, Lord. But I have an episode that I call Illusion of Control. I had to release that so early on in the hospital setting. And I think I just continued to be amazed at how much prior to Mike's accident, how much I gripped on for control, especially in parenting and in stability and in my expectations. So, gosh, my thoughts are so scattered. I have so much to say. One thing became very clear, though. The Lord was very near to me from the beginning of this trial and still is to this very day. It became so clear to me that I was never meant to have any control. I was never meant to hold that burden of control. I was never meant to direct my own path. And that releasing of that, as much as I might have been kicking and screaming as I released it, and it was painful to release it, but it was like the Lord was just like shaking out my understanding of life. Like,
that's good.
Just that filtering of, no, Megan, I love your heart and you've been right about a lot of things, but some things are out of order here. And it's just like that, just the shaking of like, I'm not letting you go, but like things are just dropping out where they shouldn't be. And control was one of the first of those that I let go of. And I was like, okay, this is this is what it means to have trust in the Lord, to recognize, to say, you're in control, I'm not. That's trust. And it is wildly uncomfortable. And that is something I sort out and have to remind myself of regularly, because I'm so prone to wandering back to that desire of control. Even all that I've gone through, it's truly a daily surrendering, repentance practice for me to be like, you're right, Lord, you're right. You told me you weren't going to forsake me. You're right.
Yeah.
You told me you were doing a new thing. Okay.
You said that.
I have to choose to trust you, because the opposite of that, like, I don't ever want to be that person who is living without trust in the Lord, without hope. That's what I think the definition of hell is. Doing any of this.
That
life.
Sounds like hell.
Yes. So
to be sitting there, not feeling like you have purpose, not feeling like you have direction, not feeling like you have hope. The idea that God isn't there, to me, is one of the scariest things I can think about, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Now, even if we get to the end of our life and we found out that all of this that we thought was wrong, even if we got there and we were wrong about God, I would still choose right now to put my faith, hope, and trust in him because I can't do it without him. I mean, I know that that's not the situation, but like I have faced too much now to choose anything but, hey, God, you are real and you are good, but your definition of good is not always the same as mine. And how do I reconcile that here on this side of eternity? And how do I teach that to my children who, yes, my children, by the way, ask these very same questions and have asked me a lot about God's plan and if this, then why this? And it has been so hard to parent them through their own grief journey and their own loss, because and backing up a little bit, pulling back, what the Daubert family is walking through is this situation called ambiguous loss or ambiguous grief, where the person is still alive, still present, but everything about them is kind of changed. Like you feel like you've lost somebody, but there was never a funeral. There was never closure. There's no life insurance policy. He's still here, but the four of us, me and my three kids, were like, this is not the same.
Here.
Right. Now, our story's not over.
But he isn't. Yes, no doubt.
But for the last 2 years, that's what we have been living with. So you can imagine all of the questions. And there are not a ton of books or parenting platforms that teach you how to walk through ambiguous grief with your children in a first world country such as America, where we are entitled to so much and we have all these expectations of how our family climbs the ladder and we will have a bigger house one day and we'll be able to go to college. And all of those things are just expectations that I didn't know were so defining in my subconscious, maybe.
Yes.
And were being ingrained into my children.
There's a vision, right? A narrative of what you had and what you expected in your life.
Yes.
Right? It's what you saw.
Yes. So that narrative of my life, that vision, our life plan was taken away from us. And then what are we left with and how do we rebuild? And the rebuilding isn't always very comfortable. It's not always happy. It's not always what you want. It's kind of our only choice to rebuild. And that's the phase we're in now, is rebuilding.
It's like, what else can you do? It's like you're handed this situation, and you have to make lemonade out of lemons, so to speak. And it's like you're there in it, and what can you do but just react and do the best you can to keep everything together. The kind of testing and the thought that came to me is like, right, as Mike continues to develop, whatever that process is looking like, right, he continues to gain more awareness, maybe more memory, and you can kind of get into that. But like, even in that, you're still someone who has been transformed in this process irrevocably, right? So let's say if there's a magic wand and they came and boom, it's just like Mike is back like the day before the accident. You're not the same person. And it's interesting. I don't know. I'm sure you thought about that.
Yeah.
I guess, how has it, like, what would that person be like that's different, right? You said that like you've let go of control. Some, but what would that Megan be that Mike met if we had the magic wand versus the Megan that's that was versus the Megan that's here? That makes sense.
Yeah, that is a on the spot question. That's a
deep big question. It's
Mhm.
obviously transformed you.
Yes. And so here's the interesting part. I want to be who I am today. I really like who the Lord is allowing me to be, who he is he's the layers he's pulling back of me that he is allowing me to step into. My relationship with the Lord, I want it where it is today. It's only where it is today because of what I've walked through. I want that product. I don't want to go back to Megan before Mike's accident. The cost is that I choose the pain that goes with that. But I am grateful for the Lord's pruning process and refining process and teaching me who he created me to be through all this. I don't want to go back to who I was, but who that person was someone who thought she had a whole lot more to do with with life and decisions on her own. Sometimes I've said, Lord, Michael and I are very ambitious. We were ambitious together. There's very few things that could have stopped us from doing what we wanted to do. And sometimes, I don't think we'll ever have this answer, but I'm like, Lord, did it take something as big as this to stop us from moving in our own way? Like, do you love us so much that you paused us and redirected us, Megan and Michael, as a team for your greater good, which doesn't look very good for the 5 Dauberts right now, but for your greater good, did you allow this shift in our life because you knew that we were very capable people and we were going to continue to chase what was good? It wasn't that it was sinful or bad. It just was maybe apart from Christ. I don't even think we were doing things apart from Christ. I don't know. That's why I'm saying I don't know. I haven't really tested this. But like, if that is I trust God enough that if that is the case, that if the Lord was like, hold on, you two, I have something better for you or something different in mind, I got to slow your roll and it's got to look a lot like this, a shift, which we're not there yet, but
you're getting there.
And I would say I'm okay with that because I'm leaving a lot out here. However, the Lord very clearly spoke to me one day in the hospital after I had been crying out to him. Why?
Yeah.
Why would you do this? Why? As I was leaving my little apartment room, dressed to go to the hospital where Michael was, he said, read Isaiah 43. And I do not hear the voice of the Lord audibly like that most days. But I was leaving my room and it was like, go sit down and read Isaiah 43. So I was just like, okay. And so I opened it up and the first part is the first part most of us know and have memorized. But when I got to verse 10, it was like, boom, this is what I have for you. 10 through 19. It is basically he was basically answering my question of why, of you will be my witnesses so that they will know that I am he and no one can say otherwise. You will be my witnesses over and over through that passage. He's like, didn't I part the seas? Didn't I, crush the army that followed you? Like, don't you perceive it? I'm doing a new thing. I mean, it literally was that question that morning. And I was like, oh, no, I don't want a new thing. I don't want a new thing, Lord. And
I like
he
that
said,
old thing.
Right.
That was nice. That old thing was nice.
I wanted the old. I didn't want the new. And he said, he ends that passage with, I'm making a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. And I just clung on to those words, even though I didn't like them. I remember telling my pastor, I don't want to be in the desert. I know he said he's making a way in it. I don't want to find my way in it. I want to be in the lush garden. But again, I don't have that control. My job is to be obedient. And if you're telling me, we're to be witnesses, okay, that's terrifying as well. So the new Megan who I'm becoming.
Megan 2.0.
Right? I don't know. It's probably like 7.0 at this point.
Yeah, 7.0 maybe. 8.0.
I feel a total sense of identity in the Lord. I recognize the authority he has placed over me in several realms. I recognize my role as a daughter of the Most High King in a totally new light. My perspective is way bigger than me and my family's future. Just the kingdom mindset that I've been able to get glimpses of because of my situation has really been shaping who I'm becoming and what I want to do, and how that filters into how I wake up in the morning and how I treat others and how I answer emails and how I plan my day. That is good, but there's also a part that scares me when it comes to my marriage relationship, because I hope one day that Michael and I can, do couples counseling together, because we'll need that. Right now, that is not effective because you have to have really solid memory to build on one counseling session from the next, right?
Yes.
So it's not very helpful for the two of us. But yeah, and we didn't mention this, but Michael has no memory of this event. His black hole goes back way farther than the night of his accident. He doesn't remember. He doesn't remember years leading up to that. He'll look at pictures and have kind of that deja vu feeling of,
yeah,
that looks familiar. But
this feels familiar.
He doesn't remember anything. So I went through hell, basically, watching him and the things that I had to observe.
I can imagine.
And he'll never share in that with me ever. So he, even now, as much as he's recovered, sometimes my reaction catches me off guard. If I'm impatient or like my tank is just empty, I'll have a response and he'll be like, "What? Why are you saying?" And I'll be like, "You're right. That wasn't fair to you, but let me try and explain where I'm coming from." Yeah. We have had this conversation 20 times, babe. I'm so sorry that I just responded shortly, but let me try and give you the picture. So one day, I hope that we will sit down in marriage counseling together, because I'll need it and he'll need it.
Sure.
Because we're different people who also no longer share the same story. And that's a little scary to me. I don't really know how that'll work out, but again, it's not mine to control. I need to trust the Lord with it. So that's a roundabout way of talking about old versus new.
I mean, that is very powerful. It makes a lot of sense. How do you work through almost the psychology of have to be independent? So maybe I want to make sure I phrase this as best as I can. I've been in fights, with my wife or whatever. I'm like, man, I just wish that, she would stop doing that or whatever it is. And then all I can think about is, I just hope that we'll be able to make up, right? Like things will be okay. And even when I'm angry, and there's almost like this feeling of I'm codependent on this person. Like I really need this person's approval. I really need this person's acceptance. I really need this person's, right? Any number of those things. And as in a marriage relationship, right? The closest relationship you have. And how have you worked through that the psychological need? Has it made you less or more independent or more dependent on other people? And what has that process been like?
Yeah. There was a day during the first year, the summer of 2024, where one of Mike's healing phases was his anger was heightened. His irritability was heightened. And it was really hard to receive that. I never blamed him for it. I knew exactly where it was coming from, but it was really hard to be his wife. And there was one point, once something happened, and I just went into my closet and was weeping. And at that point, I just told the Lord real directly, if this is how it's going to be, you're going to have to be enough for me, Lord. Like, if I am no longer the desire of my husband's heart, if he is no longer who I have been wanting him to be for me, you're going to have to be enough for me. And all these, we probably read some of the same books growing up, and with youth group and
Absolutely.
songs we would sing, like of the Lord being our first love and all this. And it didn't ever really make sense. But in that moment in my closet, I was like, this is your design. Like, Michael was never supposed to be my only source of affection. He was never my ultimate. Like, I am forced to look at my relationship with my spouse, who I'm not leaving, and be like, wow, you could never again fill the bucket that I have for love, for feeling desired, for feeling anything towards me. I basically looked the Lord in the face like, you got to do it. I have needs. You created me with needs. You got to fill it, Lord. I don't know what that's going to look like.
Yeah.
So that was a conversation that I just kept coming back to regularly of like, okay, help me understand your love for me, Jesus. Like, I need to feel what it feels like to be loved by you, which is ultimate, which is 100% satisfying. But I seriously need to feel it, Lord. You need to show me your love for me. You need to be enough for me. And that's it. Bottom of the story, or end of the story. You're enough, Lord. So that's my psychological shift that I still work through. I work through that with my counselor. I have a faith-based counselor who's been incredibly amazing. She works very psychologically, biologically, somatically, and spiritually. All of those combined have been very helpful to me. And I talk it out with her, and I have a very close group of friends who it's an open conversation anytime I need it. But I have to regularly tell the Lord, again, heal my expectations. Heal them, Lord. Like, may they be what you created them to be, which is, it's me and you. And that's enough for me. I hadn't lived that way. Again, I met Michael when I was 15. And I've always loved the Lord, but when I met Michael, like, he loved me and I loved him, and it was so tangible, and I knew what that felt like. It was safe. Right. He was there.
Heard his voice.
Yeah.
Held his hand.
Yeah. In the Lord's kindness, like, he never rushed me to experience with him, the Lord, what he has always wanted all along. It's just like, in his timing, when I was desperate and open-minded enough to understand that he was enough for me. And now that enough for me is true, but it doesn't mean it's without pain in the here and now. There are definitely days where like, our anniversary is coming up. It's still painful. There's still pain there.
I imagine it is.
But but I am now conditioned enough to recognize that pain, and then also couple it with, but Lord, you're making all things new. I don't know when I will see it all redeemed, but I trust you, and I know that you're going to sustain me through this, and your love for me is enough. It doesn't mean all my desires are fulfilled. Like, I still wish that my husband treated me the way everyone else's husband treats them and takes care of them. I drive the car. I'm never driven around, like, he doesn't have to be the driver, but I'm always in charge. I hold the passports. I hold the IDs. I order the food. And I look longingly at other people and be like, that would be nice. That would be nice. That's the pain that isn't fixed, even though I know and have shifted in my mind that God is ultimately all I need, and he is enough. I mean, that is a very real dose of what is like to live on this earth with a very intimate relationship with the Lord, but also the very real painful parts of life of being a human in our broken world.
Yes.
It's both. It's both.
I mean, it is just so profound, the stuff that you're saying. With Michael, and you're working through all of this, you commit, like, so when we get married, right, we commit to sickness and health. Right. That's the vows I said, right? And to my wife, and I mean them. And so it's like, and she means them too. And we have been there for each other. My wife has been with me through addiction, through alcohol addiction, through insane, just like mental health issues of depression, anxiety. I'm like the crazy one in the relationship. I wish I wasn't. I wish I was stable, but I'm like unstable. It's crazy. It's like, and trying to get to the place like, can I just be okay with who I am? We were there, right? We've been there. In this sickness and health, have you had to shift, like, and I don't even know how to answer this, but like, how much of it is, I know what I committed to do, so I'm sticking to that loyalty and commitment to my covenant? And then versus like that love for my spouse is there. And it's because I guess the question, I guess the question comes from, I am so inspired by you, and what you're doing and how you've chosen to love your spouse, and probably one of the most difficult things you possibly could. I mean, there's people that have loved their spouse through hell, and you're doing that. I just watched my father-in-law go through 5 years of his wife with breast cancer. We lost her last year to it, and it was awful, and it changed him. And it was just like, and that love was always there for Kelly, for my mother-in-law. And I know that, and we love her. And yet I know that there were days that were so hard. And I know that there were times, right, that were so difficult. And I know that there are times when it's like the only thing I have. I mean, with my wife right now, the only times I have sometimes are I'm just holding on to the loyalty, the commitment, the covenant that we made, the life we built, right? And then there's like love, and there's this mixture of love and loyalty that comes. And I guess I just wonder how, like, what does that look like for you? How does that, is that something you thought about? I think it would be inspiring because if you can do it, right? If you can be strong and you can love the person that's closest to you in the hell that you've gone through with them, then I certainly can too.
It's another hard question. Yeah. It never once, the only thing that crossed my mind was, if he dies, then what do I do? So that was the only time I've ever considered us not being married. Right. Because also, like, I love him deeply. And that is what is getting me through these really hard times, is I know our love was real.
Of course. And is real.
But to be fully known, like,
it's hard because it's not able to fully know in the same way.
No. Yes. So that I'm like, ooh, how does that, we don't have a solution for that right now. That has not come full circle. To be fully known by somebody requires memory, requires you able to draw from past experiences. That's how we learn and become better, is we learn from the last time we had an argument. We learn from the last time we did something right. And then we're able to repeat that for our spouse. I know she loves this. I know this made her feel like $1 million. How do I incorporate that into this next season? What do I do that's really helpful to her? Like, you got to build on your memory. You got to learn from those past experiences. We all do that. That's how we grow. So while there is a big pause on that in our relationship, so it's truly right now me honoring my vows of, nope, I said it flippantly, in sickness and in health, of course. And but I that was binding, and I did mean it then, and I still mean it now. I can't imagine. I envision him without, like, me releasing him, and I'm like, I feel so sad. I would never want him. Where would he go? Who would he have? What would he do? I mean, you could answer those questions, but they're not good. They're not good answers. So that, I've walked through that in my mind just to flesh it out, of like, no, you wouldn't do that. So then it brings me back to, okay, again, back to that conversation of, well,
then now what?
Yeah. I still have these very real needs. You're going to need to show me where in life they can be met. And it does look different, but like, to be fully known is possible by my close group of girlfriends. It is not a marriage relationship, but they want to fully know me. So as long as I don't have unhealthy expectations on them, like, for the time being, it can be a bridge of having those needs that I have met. Unfortunately, not by my husband in this situation right now. But I hold hope. that can come back. And I know he feels the love for me too. Like, that is evident in his healing process. So,
that's cool.
But it is cool. But it is also very similar. Well, I've never experienced this, but I can imagine an arranged marriage where you're given somebody to marry, and you're like, all right, we got to figure out how to make it work.
You got to learn how to love them.
I got to learn how to make this work. So that's where a lot of the learning who I am apart from him is
Yes.
coming in handy. A lot of the work that I'm doing on me right now, which I think is actually a very important process for men and women in marriage and healthy human bodies in the marriage relationship where you're struggling. Like, we can't change the other person, but what we can
Right.
do is work on healing ourselves. And that is the best you can do, is do the hard work on yourself and see what comes of that. And so,
Yes.
like, if from what I know of my friends in counseling who counsel men and women on that, like, hey, you're not going to be able to change your husband or you can't change your wife, but you can become better. So, like, in the meantime, while I wait for Michael to heal, I'm working on what are these things about myself that I have suppressed for 17 years? What did I not value about Megan as a person? What wants and desires and dreams did I put on the back burner because I wanted to be the good wife that, wanted to do whatever Michael wanted to do? And those weren't bad things. Like, we had a beautiful life together, but there was
Mhm.
a lot of me that died off. Like,
Hmm.
I just, was like, we need to shut the lid on those callings, maybe you might say.
Sure.
So that has been kind of just in my little silo of healing. There has been a lot of insight that I have gained in this process. Now, one day I'll have to go back and explain all this to Michael, like share this with him and talk about
Yes.
how I got here. And I don't blame you. It was just me. But yeah, there's a lot. I have a lot of big questions of him, and how does somebody with a brain injury, how do they develop? What is their faith journey like? What is the Holy Spirit
Right.
doing in their heart? Like, if they can't make 2 cents of ideas, how does that,
Right.
everything? There's a lot of big questions I still do not have answered. I only know what the Lord has led me to know, and the rest, I just sit here and look at you and be like, I don't know. We'll see.
You tell me. So that's that's really good. This is my last question, but it has to do with hope, right? Because you're talking about hope, like you're trying to hold on to it. You have the hope, right? You have a lot of hope, not only in our resurrection, right? The Christian hope. I have a lot of hope. Like, hey, Michael can recover. There's things that can change. And yet you've had hope from the beginning, right? The tension, I don't mean to say yet, as if, because obviously that absolutely can happen. It hasn't happened to this point, right? At least to what you would have wanted, right? And expected. And so I guess my question is to do with holding on to that hope. How do you work through the complicated nature of holding on to hope when you don't know what will happen? You don't want to lose hope. Maybe the object of the hope changes. Maybe hope has to do with, I don't know, right? Because we just don't know what will happen. And so you have to deal with what comes. Also not let go of hope because you need that vision to continue. And yet it's complicated because maybe, is it the right thing I'm hoping for? How do you have an answer to that? How do you work through? I just love to hear you process that out loud. I really have appreciated your thoughts on this.
Yeah. Because it's very difficult to look forward, I have found my pattern of thought of looking backward, and by backward, I mean Old Testament stories, that far back.
That's way back.
Way back. I look at, right now, I'm just clinging to the scriptures. I just finished a study on the life of Joseph. 17 years of,
wow.
I'm sure every day he was like, I think I still have hope in this prison.
I hope I have hope.
I just translated a dream for those 2 guys and they got out. But what about me? I think of and how there were good things in his life, but that undercurrent of probably really big questions remained in Joseph's life. And it wasn't until the very end of his life, when he was reconciled with his family during the famine, did he see, wow, what the enemy meant for harm, Lord, you intended it for good. Like, that's a very long time, but God remained faithful to him. And so I truly, my hope is drawn from stories like him, from From the story of David, I am fascinated by David's life and Daniel's life. The story, the entire Israelites journey, like it was a long, long time, and some
Very long.
generations never even saw that hope fulfilled.
Yes.
But God remained faithful. And so I think my perspective is shifting such when I mentioned earlier, just like my eternal perspective, that's what I'm talking about. Like it's shifting, like I'm not owed a comfortable, glamorous life.
Boom. You just hit something there.
Right. The Lord does allow and gives that to many, many people in my sphere. But none of us are owed that. And that does not take away from his character and his faithfulness. So I am really trying to learn these lessons that are written out on the pages of scripture and apply them to my life now, because surely that's acceptable.
Yes.
That's my honest answer of where I'm drawing my hope right now is like, well, I'm looking at the patterns of what we know to be true about God in scripture. And I have to trust that your word is true and your word will do what it says it will. And that's where my hope comes from. Dare I say I have made peace with maybe the rest of my life won't look like what I wanted it to look like on paper. That'd be a bummer, but it's not the end of the story. And that's what I'm okay with, because I know the end of the story is a lot better than this. So I can cling on to that.
Man, that is really well said. That's truly beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Megan, I appreciate you coming on so much, being a part of this. This has been like really thought-provoking, really challenging, really helpful for me. It's like, man, it's like if you can be that loving and caring to the people, like when that much has changed, like just reminding me to be present, reminding me like, man, be grateful for the moments that I have, be grateful that my wife does have memory, that my kids have memory, right? That I can, and that's hard. It's hard to be grateful for that while knowing that you're struggling with that in this moment. Right? It's like, it's a weird feeling. And yet we want to be grateful for those things that we do have, understanding that they can, right, be taken away.
Oh, I think that's right. I think that's what, that's what the Lord was calling me to that day in the hospital, to be my witnesses so that people know that I am He. And it's going to look a lot like people seeing a mirror of themselves and being like, oh, okay.
Absolutely.
I am okay. Like I am grateful for this moment. Yeah. So no, I think I love that. I love that that's your response. I'm glad. Thank you for saying that.
How could people connect with you and your story? Where would you direct them to learn more about what's going on, what you're doing?
Yeah, definitely. 3 ways. My podcast, it's pretty much available wherever podcasts are found. It's video and audio. So you can find that anywhere. I'm on YouTube. Megan Daubert podcast. Real inventive there with the names. I got stuck and I was like, you know what? I can't spend any time on this.
It's fine.
And I'm pretty active on social media. So Instagram, you'll never guess, it's Megan Daubert podcast on Instagram. I'm pretty good at connecting with people there. So yeah, I would look up one of those 3 sources for how to hear more of the story or to connect with me. I'm around.
Awesome. Well, again, Megan, thank you so much. We really appreciate you coming, sharing your time and your story. I know it's inspiring to our listeners, so thanks for coming.
Absolutely. Thank you, Josh. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. And to our viewers and listeners, guys, thanks for joining us. Make sure that you share this with someone who needs to hear it, or just re-listen to it again so your own heart can be encouraged and challenged. And guys, take care of yourself. And until next time, God bless.